Okay, welcome online class. This is the third class in the fourth module, the cognitive neuroscience class. And we just did an experiment, kind of a demonstration experiment. It wasn't really an experiment because, not everything was well controlled. It was kind of controlled, but it was more a demonstration project. So what I was wondering was if somebody in the class could kind of describe what we actually had you do in this situation. Bella, would you be willing to share? What did I have the people in the class do?
You had us watch a 10-second video of a silent car crash.
Yes, I had you watch a 10-second video, and it is actually posted online, the 10-second car accident. It's actually on the main page. A 10-second car accident scene. And then, what happened after that? Let me ask on this side of the class. You guys were asked to do what?
Flip over the index card that you gave us.
Flip over an index card. And what question did you guys have on your card?
How fast were the cars going when they crashed?
How fast were the cars going when they...
Collided or something?
When they made contact?
That makes sense. I don't start with C.
How about on this side of the class? You're giving me a look that's a little different. Do you remember what so you were given the same video to watch, and when you turned your card over, do you remember what it said?
It says how fast were the cars going when they crashed?
It wasn't quite the word crashed, it was the word smashed. That's kind of interesting in this situation. It doesn't seem like people knew exactly what that last word was. Was that kind of an important thing to pay attention to from my perspective? I was trying to do an experiment here. The experiment that was being attempted to be replicated here was the experiment by Loftus and Palmer, 1974. How fast were the cars going when half of you got made contact and half of you got the word smashed? So how many variables did I actually have here? Did I have two variables? What would be the levels of those two variables if there were two?
Is one variable two levels?
Yeah, I had one independent variable and two levels. In the original one, they actually had smash, made contact, hit. They had like 4 or 5 different levels of things. But in this particular situation, I had one independent variable and two levels of the situation here. Did you all see the same video? Ashante, did you all see the same video? So if memory is really, you all watch the same thing, what should we have gotten in terms of the speed? And speed was what here? What kind of variable was the speed estimate? Was it the independent or dependent variable? It was the dependent variable. So speed was the dependent variable. If you all saw the same thing, what should have happened with your answers?
Well, the speed for made contact would be a lot lower than if we got the word smashed.
But if you all saw the same thing in your memories, your long-term memories are based on just what you see, should the wording really matter? Research would actually say probably not. What you're actually giving is kind of what really did occur here, but in actuality, and for your notes, hello, what should have actually happened if long-term memory, if eyewitness memory is really based on what you see, you all saw the same thing, you were all staring right at it. Speed estimates should have been the same. Now, if I were to look at the data here, just a little bit, the data is not really matching from the class demonstration, so we don't need to pay attention too much to the situation at hand. The data from the class is really not matching that, but that is not important in this situation. We actually found that speed estimates from the group that saw the word contacted was actually a bit higher than the word smashed. Could we actually explain that a little bit? when I asked you guys the question.
Well, for me at least, when I was answering the question, I had like that word in my brain that they made contact, but I was like thinking about it like mathematically, so I wasn't really paying attention too much to the words.
So the words, we got clear indications that for both groups, they weren't really paying, how many people were really paying attention to the wording on that card? So the fact that our results don't match means that people probably weren't specifically focused on the words. And Sam, just to catch you up, we saw a video, a 10-second video of a car accident, and then half the class was asked, how fast were the cars going when they smashed? The other half of the class was asked the question, how fast were the cars going when they made contact? And the results you should know would be what? What do you think Loftus and Palmer found? And you'll want to know this experiment by Loftus and Palmer in 1974. What results do you think they found that you would want to know? Madison, what results do you think they found?
That it didn't, or that the words mattered of whether the speed was higher or lower.
Yeah, the word actually mattered. The word mattered a great deal. You know what the method is, and basically what I showed you, that was actually their video. That was actually, I was able to find the classic YouTube 10-second video. That was actually the video that they used, and they found, so you know what the method was, and then they asked people the question, how fast were the cars going, and they manipulated the wording of the question. We had 2 levels here, they actually had 4 or 5 levels there, and they actually found the key result is when the wording was smashed. Brittany, you were kind of saying it before. When the word was smashed, how do you think people gave their speed estimates?
They were higher.
Speed estimates were much higher when the word smashed was used. I'm kind of curious, how many people have actually talked about this in other classes? Okay, 2 or 3, that's fine. So speed estimates were higher when the word smashed was actually used. So that was the main result of the first experiment there. Now, what could be the reasons for that? We already said it was kind of bizarre because if memory is really based on you all were staring at the same scene there, weren't you? Should the information that happens after, we call it post-event information, should the post-event information, and for your notes, should the post-event information really matter? If you all saw the same thing? Should the information that happened after you and you were all staring at the video, should it really matter? If memory is really, you watch something and you have the memory for that event, should it really? The answer would be no. It really shouldn't have mattered, but it did. Speed estimates were higher there. Give me some possible reasons why the speed estimate was higher. Let's talk about some reasons for this. Why could the speed estimate have been greater, as you need to know? Deja, can I ask you? Why would speed estimates be higher in the smash condition?
Well, when I think of smash versus making contact, I see smash as being more violent, and therefore I would attribute it to like going faster. If you say made contact, I'm just like.
So the wording, when you see the word smashed, the word itself could kind of cause what you might call a response bias. It could actually just kind of change your answer. You see the word smashed, oh, it must have been a much higher number. So there could be a response bias there. What else might be the case, though? Could there be another possible explanation as well? When you see the word smashed, if we're talking about long-term memory, what could happen to that word smashed? Talking about an eyewitness memory thing. Could it actually change your memory of the event? So explanation number 2, which you'd want to write down, explanation number 2 could be that the wording that happened after could have actually changed your memory for the actual event. Do you see how that's different than just a kind of response bias? Oh, the word was smashed, it must have been higher. So if it was just a response bias, everybody still would have the same memory, but you saw the word smash versus contact, and you said, oh, contact must be lower. But the memory would be the same. Do you guys understand the difference between those two explanations? So let's take it to step 2 here. There was a second part of this experiment that they did that I kind of improvised here. Did I actually ask you anything else after you watched the video and after I kind of talked for about 2 minutes or so? What did I ask?
You asked if there was glass at the scene.
I asked if there was actually glass at the scene. Now the truth for the video, and I don't know if I can still access it there. I won't worry about it now. Does anybody know, was there glass at the scene? It was a pretty violent accident. The truth of the matter is,
It said recreation, so they wouldn't have glass on the cars, right?
well, there was glass on the windshield, but in truth, there was actually no glass, broken glass at the scene. So was there broken glass at the scene? Is that the question I asked?
No, you said was there glass?
At the scene. So maybe I phrased it a little bit wrong, but the question they asked, was there broken glass at the scene of the accident? And guess what the truth was? The answer is no. There were fenders, there was other parts of the car there, but there was no broken glass at the scene. So if you want to write this down for part B, there was no broken glass at the scene of the accident. What do you think happened between the two groups in the original experiment? Which group do you think answered yes to that question a lot more than the other group?
Smash.
The people who had the word smash said they were actually brought in, I think it was like a week later, and they were asked, so you can write down for your notes, they were brought in about a week later, and they said, oh yeah, there was glass there. About 50% of them said yes. Only 11% in the made contact said yes. That was a significant difference. So many more people in the smash condition said, yep, there was glass there. Now, why would this be important? Going back to the two possibilities from the first part of the experiment. We said it could have been a response bias. People saw the word smashed. Or it could have actually changed the events of the memory. What would this actually suggest? So if people in the smash condition said, oh yeah, there was glass there. They said that a lot more often. Taliban?
Because they assume that since it's a car, a car crash involved, and they think that there's glass.
So they might assume it, but this might also say which one of the two hypotheses would we be more willing to believe here? If a bunch of people more in the smash condition said, yep, there was glass at the scene, would we say it was just a response bias, or would we tend to say their memory for the event was actually changed?
Probably the second one.
Yeah. This led Loftus and Palmer to conclude that because the word smashed was used a week later when they were brought back, there was no glass at the scene. No broken glass at the scene. And many more people in the smash condition said, yes, there was glass at the scene, broken glass at the scene. They came to the conclusion that the memory for the event had done what? Had changed. The post-event information changed the memory for that event. The information that came after. How fast were the cars going when they smashed? Changed the actual memory for the event. Does that make sense for everybody? So we kind of have method and result, almost two method and result. Madison, questioner? Okay. Any comments or questions about this? Okay, I'm going to stop the first recording at this point in time.